Another mistake executors make is not, if you're working with an attorney in particular, you need to tell the attorney what all the assets are. You can't say, well, here was an asset that was nobody knows about, so I'm not going to tell anybody about it, and either I'll just divide it this way, or no. It's kind of like I just mentioned, following the terms of the will. You have to gather up all the assets. Again, how do you know what all the assets are? You're reviewing mail, you're looking at if there's an estate planning notebook, you are, there's websites, for example, you can go to find life insurance. Did mom have any life insurance that you were unaware of? So you have to gather up all those assets, find them. That is your job. And then, especially if you're working with an attorney, you need to let the attorney know what all those assets are. You know, if you're dealing with a large estate, one that's taxable, and in the state of Washington, what that means is it's a little over 2 million, 2.193 million this year. If you have a taxable estate, then really critically important that there's an inventory done. You're working with an accountant. There's an estate tax return that's done, because the estate is going to owe the state of Washington an estate tax. And an estate tax is going to be owed not just on the assets that pass under the will, but assets that pass outside of the will. For example, a lot of assets don't go under the will. This is where people get really confused, because they think, oh, well, the will governs everything. The will governs assets that are what we call probate assets. For example, a house or a bank account with no joint titling, investment accounts with no joint titling or pay on debt. What a will won't cover under its terms are, for example, a 401k or an IRA or a life insurance. Those might have beneficiary designations that pay far differently than what the will directs. And you as the executor don't have control over the direction of those assets, but you, because the beneficiary designation says where it goes, but you as the executor are responsible for figuring out, yes, there is a non-probate asset, and it was $1 million, and it did pay to this person and that person, because as doing the inventory and working with the accountant, it's your job to include on that inventory not just the assets that are passing under the will, but the assets that are paying by way of beneficiary designation and not going under the will. So when you get a more complicated estate, especially if it's a taxable estate like that, you definitely are going to want to work with an attorney and an accountant who knows how to do estate tax returns.